Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty. I am free at last from reviewing this show. I'm free from overzealous fan bases attaching their trauma to a silly reality show. I'm free from the frustration of losing subscribers because I'm not on some bandwagon pandering shit. But yes, this is my review for The Real Housewives of Potomac Season 8 Reunion Part 3. I'm done after this until maybe 2025 or 2026. But let's continue. So we left off from the cliffhanger of what Gordon was revealing to Andy. A lot of us thought it was going to be like a terminal illness or something that he's been going through. And we were close. So he said that he has been suffering from bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, and a lot of the things that him and me have been going through, it's been due to his manic behavior. He said that Mia is the one that knows when it's coming. He says he's on meds, but it's half the battle. Now, knowing that it's Mia and Gordon, and they do lie a lot, I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not going to lie. It crossed my mind. I'm just like, a lot of people lie on this show and exaggerate, especially Mia with the whole cancer thing. Y'all remember that? But yes, it seemed like they still have love for each other, and Gordon is content. Andy's asking a bunch of follow-up questions, one of them being when he took Mia's phone and locked her in a room. He's saying that he definitely took her phone, but he doesn't remember locking her in a room. Gordon says he's not going to say he didn't, but he doesn't remember. Andy then asks, does he believe Mia was having an affair? He says, during the marriage, yes, but not the duration of the marriage. Gordon continues to say that he forgives Mia and Mia forgiving him. He says if he would have gotten a hold on his manic episodes, maybe Mia would still be with him. But he thinks it's a matter of Mia just not being able to take anymore. It is a very somber moment on stage. You can hear a pin drop. Gordon says that he then checked himself into a hospital, and the following day, Mia was still there to check on him. I will say, like from the comments from last week and what I've been seeing on Twitter, it does seem like he still wanted Mia to be there, but she would just be kind of like in a caregiver's role, while she would still be doing her stuff on the side to get fulfilled. And what I imagine is, I guess Mia just didn't want to be a caregiver anymore. It was too much stress. And also, let's be real. If the money was there, it would be more tolerable. Andy is very touched by all this. He is on his Diane Sawyer right now. But they continue about other factors in their marriage. He's asking Gordon about his relationship with Mia's current boyfriend. He says they're cordial. They are being so transparent right now. And I think if Juan and Robin were like this, Robin would still be on the show. And by the way, she confirmed this morning, y'all, that, she will not be coming back. And I guess it wasn't a surprise to anybody. I mean, first and foremost, her performance on the show. And secondly, she chose to be diplomatic, unlike Candace, and just wait until the reunion was over to announce her departure. And he then asked Gordon about the relationship with his family since they're in a legal battle, and he says it's 100% better. He also contributes his CEO position being taken away because he was in a manic phase. He dropped the lawsuit against the family, but it seemed like the family's still suing him. Like he said, he dropped his lawsuit, if y'all listen. But he says he still owns the shares of the company. He just doesn't have the title and the pay that comes with the title. So now we move on to Nneka's reel of the season, which includes her feud with Wendy, as well as her journey trying to become a mom. So first they get the fluff out of the way. Andy's asking Karen, what's the difference between Potomac proper and North Potomac? Isn't it all still Potomac? I'm trying to think of an equivalent. I would say someone saying they're from New Orleans, but they really were from the West Bank. It's still New Orleans technically, but the West Bank is its own thing. But again, if you're from the West Bank and I offended you, I'm sorry. I've offended enough people. Anywho, so now we move on to the Wendy versus Nneka beef, and Andy even has to usher a disclaimer before he gets into it because he starts off with the shrine information. He says that he wished it wasn't brought to the show, and he recognizes the cultural sensitivity of the matter. I totally agree. Like, why did they introduce this on the show? I'm sure, for my Nigerian followers, like, y'all were in a tizzy about this, and I could totally understand. Andy then says production had no knowledge of the alleged shrine call prior to filming. How it started, they casted Nneka, contacted Wendy, and wanted her to bring her on as her friend because they heard they had mutual friends, and they just thought it would make sense. They got back to Andy and said that Wendy was not excited about the idea. So Wendy says production did call her and they asked her, did she know Nneka? And she pulled a Mariah Carey saying, I don't know her. And they told her, well, that's funny. Like, she says she knows you. Here's the thing. If you meet somebody, through your friend or through your cousin, like, oh yeah, like I know of her, but y'all, let's not be obtuse. There's been many, many housewives across all franchises who have brought other women on and they don't really know them like that. They're not their actual friend, but we know how it goes. Like, we just know. I'm thinking this just confirms that she didn't want Nneka on the show. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but at least cop to it. Whatever was Wendy's motive of not wanting Nneka on the show, we may never know. Some said that Wendy just wanted to be the only Nigerian on the show, or maybe she just didn't like her and didn't want her to be on the show, or she already knew Kiana and she thought that, oh, well, this is probably gonna wreck Kiana's chances of actually being casted full time. I mean, Wendy's already been proven to lie when the cameras are down and she forget that she's mic'd. So I'm not putting it past her lying that she didn't know Nneka. Because at the end of the day, it's semantics. Nneka says she told production that she met Wendy at a concert and had a conversation with her. And then Wendy's like, so you did tell them that you knew me. This sets off Nneka. They're going back and forth. They're at a stalemate already. I don't see neither of these two moving forward. Like Wendy said, yeah, I'll be cordial, but it's not the same. Like that just means you're gonna be fake with her. And we don't want that. Andy's then breaking it down how I said earlier, sometimes production, they'll have women come on as friends when they've met each other. Like Wendy just didn't want to play ball. That's at the end of the day. Like, I don't like how she's saying, I don't know her. I don't know her. You didn't want her on the show. Point blank, period. Now, why? Nobody can prove that. That Wendy has to answer that question. Oh, and then we get some real tease. So Andy then asked Nneka, were you kind of like hovering around Wendy trying to get on the show? She's like, no. Lebby, my husband's cousin, I think that's their relation, was aware that Bravo was trying to get her on Married to Medicine DC. She was going to be on a Bravo show regardless. I remember some talk saying that they wanted to do a Married to Medicine DC. They should still try. Maybe they could cancel Potomac and then give us Married to Medicine DC. So now we move on to Nneka and Ashley's conversation at the beginning of the season. And I do think Ashley, it was because of her, like, she lit the match. That's how it all started. And I wish Ashley didn't do that. And from her confessional, it seems like, she's laughing at it. I'm just like, girl, like you helped pit two Nigerian women against each other. Wendy didn't like her ass in the first place, and then Nneka was dumb enough to bring up the shrine call and keep the fight going. Andy then asked Wendy to explain what this Osu means, and I love what Wendy did. This is my favorite moment from her at the reunion. She turns to Ashley and says, well, Ashley, why don't you explain what Osu means since you brought it on this platform? Crickets. Like she got her ass. Ashley says she never once said she knew what it meant or understood the severity of it. Then Andy asked her the $1 million question, well, what was your intention of bringing it up? It was because your ass was messy, Ashley. And the two of them should have hopped on your ass than fighting with each other. She then gives a cop-out answer saying it was something that was brought to her attention and it was brought up again before she met Nneka. Okay, girl. You should be demoted just for that. And considering where Ashley is financially, she'll probably take what Bravo gives her. Nneka then says she doesn't even feel comfortable explaining what Osu is. She don't think any of them are competent talking about it. Somebody in the chat, let me know what it is. I'm just kind of curious. Even Nneka's husband is like, it's taboo. No one talks about it. I also agree with Wendy. All Ashley should be doing is just saying she's sorry for bringing it up. Ashley says she did apologize, but she won't take the blame for the war between Nneka and Wendy that followed it. While I do think it's not fair to put all of it on Ashley, her messy ass did flick the first domino and the rest of them all fell between Nneka and Wendy. Andy brings up to Wendy that Nneka's already apologized for calling her mom a witch, so what else does she need from her to move on? And Wendy says she doesn't need anything from her, that she can coexist and move forward, but just take accountability. Nneka disagrees with this notion, saying that Wendy herself can't take accountability for a few things. I also agree with Nneka that it seems like Wendy didn't have the same smoke for her as she did for Ashley for bringing up the whole Osu thing in the first place. They're going back and forth again. Mia interjects and asks the both of them, do you think y'all ever be friends since y'all are Igbo sisters? Wendy says she said what she said. It looked like it ain't changing. Andy then leaves it at that and says, we're going to take a break and we're bringing out Kiana. And with that, the husbands leave the stage. I'm like, what was the purpose of the husbands even coming out? Like, we could have just had G and Chris show up and that's it. Like, Ray hardly said anything, Eddie, as well as Nneka's husband. Like, I'm wondering, so they're just gonna glide past, like, the whole pickleball thing where Nneka's husband and Wendy's husband almost squared up? Like, we're just leaving that out? And I'm sorry, y'all, I'm not watching the extended version on Peacock because my fucks are low already. So, yeah, I feel like they just wasted time with this, but I do applaud them for shortening the whole Nneka versus Wendy thing. Like, it's a wrap on that topic. During the break, though, you see how happy Andy is with Mia and G? Like, he hugged G as well as Mia and said, it was great, amazing. Like, already in that point, you know Mia is coming back. So Kiana then joins the ladies, and they have her third from Andy. So it's Mia, then Candace, then Kiana. She's before Wendy and Ashley. She looks great, of course. She tells Andy, like, that K is okay. Apparently, a lot of people are confused by her name. It's definitely a unique name, but I don't think it's that hard to pronounce or remember. Anywho, Andy's giving her props for her confessional look this season. It did look great, and it's really easy to be fashionable amongst the Potomac ladies because they're just not known for their fashions, let's be honest. The first question she's asked is, who does she connect with outside of Wendy? And she says Candace, Robin, Giselle, and especially Karen. Afterward, Kiana is asked about her experience in DR, particularly when Wendy said that she's not sharing a room with her. The mic always pick up Wendy lying or saying something shady. Wendy's excuse was they all had their own rooms, so why should she share a room? Now, on the other side of the couch, we see some of the ladies whispering that that's not true, like they didn't all know they were going to have their own rooms. But they just passed by it. Kiana does say the ladies not checking in on her did bother her at the moment, and that's why she appreciated Giselle coming in to check on her. Candace says that was just Giselle being strategic on her part. Of course, Giselle disagrees with Candace. So then they move on to the next reel is dedicated to Wendy and her many projects that she's invested in every single season. From her getting into candles, the restaurant business, to now having a talk show. Andy's asking an update. And I think I already told y'all an update when I was looking at her YouTube. And I just pulled it up. The last one she did, episode 11, was 4 weeks ago. Let's find out when the next one is. Like, I feel like she just did this for a plot line. My show, Pop Rose, is more consistent and has more views. Like, she wasn't serious about this. So Andy then asked about the candles. She said that's still up and running, even though she didn't promote it at all this season. And then he asked her about teaching. And she said she's still teaching, but this is going to be her last semester. I knew she didn't like teaching. I knew it. And didn't she say she hates teaching on Kelly Clarkson's show? You know what? She actually said she hates school on the Kelly Clarkson show. Go look at it. She said it. She says her reasoning, though, is so she can spend more time with her kids because she feels like she's missing pivotal moments in their lives. You know, I just hate when women feel they have to quit their jobs, but men don't feel the same way. But, you know, I'm always for, like, just equal in a relationship, but I get it. Do what you want to do. Look, if Happy Eddie can support Wendy while she doesn't work or, do other things, then let that man do it. So then they get to Wendy calling Mia slow. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I think it was a big deal. What I did think was a problem is, don't be calling Mia slow, and then as you arguing with Nneka, you go try to be friends with Mia. They also get to Wendy calling Nneka a crackhead, and she says she only said that because she felt that she was attacking her mom, but she does apologize to Nneka for calling her a crackhead. So then they get to Ashley's reel next, which involves, her relationship with Michael, as well as the fashion event where the fight happened. So the first question for Ashley is an update on her divorce. She says she's actually ready to file a complaint. I will believe it when I see it. She is still terrified that she may end up like Miss Sheila, her mom. And I know that's harsh, but it's the truth. Andy then asks her about using Michael's Amex, which is supposed to be for the kids and Uber Eats, but she definitely uses it on herself. Wendy even calls her out, how did she pay for her boob job? And she says she used the card. Girl, you ain't serious. And shout out to Nneka for asking the $1 million question. She says, even if you do get a divorce and you financially still need him, will he be there for you? Ashley says the jury's out on that. Wow. And there you have it. That's why she's still not divorced. She says he'll always be there for the kids, but she's not sure that extends all the way to her. That is quite the predicament to be in. I kind of feel sorry for her. And speaking of her predicament, when she's asked about what Mia said, did she marry Michael for money? She's going back in time saying, well, when she met Michael, she was working. She wanted to be a broadcast journalist. I'm like, did no one call out that Michael was her boss when he met her? Am I crazy? I remember earlier seasons, she said when she met Michael, she used to work for him. That was her boss. I'm really surprised no one on stage said anything. But she said Michael whisked her off her feet, wanted to travel all the time, and said she couldn't do that with a 9-to-5. So she was like, okay. I thought she had a airtight prenup or something that would help her out, but come to find out, Michael is still holding all the cards. I mean, Ashley ain't the first dummy to do this. I mean, she mistakenly put all her eggs in one basket. Now she's back to being season 5 Portia. Now, when she talked about massaging Michael's feet, she had to make sure it was said in past tense. And some of the ladies' faces, I mean, could you imagine Michael Darby's feet and rubbing them? And then Giselle tells Karen, oh, you don't rub Ray feet? Karen was like, cup of coffee in the morning. So now we finally get to the fashion show, and Andy's being messy, asking some of the ladies what they thought of it. And Andy being extra shady, trying to compare it to She by Sheree. And Karen said it's giving going to the grocery store, trying to catch a man, or a booty call. Shockingly, Giselle isn't offended and doesn't come for Karen. And then Ashley throws her own shade and says, oh, you've worn something like that before, Karen. Karen is like, absolutely not. So now we get to the brawl that happened at the fashion show. Andy is asking Kiana what happened from her point of view. And Kiana was saying she was actually trying to de-escalate the situation. And from the audio, you can hear Kiana saying, who is she? Who is she? We've seen the video dozens of times. And like I said, when I saw the video, and I'm not saying that Deborah was not at fault, but I'm saying as soon as Deborah threw that drink, that's when Kiana was bop, bop, bop. And then Deborah threw the glass. And then that's when they were really scrapping. When someone throws a drink, that does count as assault. So Deborah, she should be ready to get hit. And unfortunately, Kiana got caught up in that, and she didn't deserve that. So then Candace is telling her side of what happened. She's saying she was on the other side, and then Deborah came up to her and was trying to engage with her. And Candace started calling her the help, Oscar the Grouch, vermin. Mia then interjects and says that, well, Deborah was on a rampage that night. I mean, she approached me too about calling her a 4. I guess Mia's point is that instead of really engaging and escalating the situation, she just said, oh girl, you're a black queen. It's okay, it's good. And she's just saying that what Candace did, she escalated the situation by bringing it to a place for Deborah to throw the drink. Here's the thing, y'all. Think what you want to think. Anyway, Deborah is wrong. We know this. But I'm just saying, when someone comes into your face, like ready to engage, you have two options of how to handle it. Now, if you're gonna be like, yeah, bitch, I called your ass a Sesame Street character, the help, get the fuck out of my face, vermin, as opposed to, well, I don't appreciate you talking to me right now. I don't want to talk, but you have a good night. So I'm not saying it's Candace's fault, but I'm just saying that you choose however you want this situation to go. So if you got that mouth on you, you better be ready. Ooh, I just know so many people are going to disagree with me on that. In any case, Deborah should have never approached Candace in the first place. Anywho, Mia tells Candace that she just has to be mindful because you're the one who has more to lose. Don't entertain it. And I actually agree with Mia in that moment. I really did. Even though it's ironic that Mia herself threw a drink at Wendy. I will say that. Wrong messenger. So then Andy asked Giselle her perspective since it was her event and like what does she make of it? And Giselle says after seeing the footage, she says everyone is at fault. She says Deborah, Kiana, Candace, and Wendy. I disagree with that. Like, Wendy had nothing to do with it. Maybe she's talking about what Ashley was told that Candace and Wendy was talking about Deborah. Maybe that's what was her mindset. But it definitely was not Wendy's fault. Candace is livid at Giselle's response. Y'all want me to be friends with this? And then Wendy is speaking her piece. They're going back and forth. But then once Giselle realized how stupid she sounds, she's like, okay, I'll take back Wendy. I'll take back Wendy. But, Candace, she still blames Candace as well as, I guess, Kiana and Deborah. I don't really see Kiana saying anything, but Candace is the one really giving Giselle pushback. So then Karen interjects, and I thought this moment definitely needed a sense of humor injected. And she was like, why did you call the girl a varmint? Not a varmint. Who is she, Elmer Fudd? And then Giselle trying to correct her. Vermin. Varmint. Candace continues to say that she said that after Deborah got in her face and said, do you have something to say to me? And Mia disagrees and says, well, you just can't say that, Candace. And Candace says, you cannot tell me how to react. And I agree with that. You cannot tell somebody how to react. Andy asked her, do you think you really would have swung a bottle at her? Candace said, I don't know. And thank God that it didn't come to that. Candace starts to get emotional and she says, I'm not expecting y'all to fight for me, so I'm on my own. I believe Candace can fight her own battles. That's why I was like, initially, Kiana didn't have to step in. Ashley is now in the hot seat for her comments she said in her confessional about putting the blame on Candace's mouth. She's not saying that it was Candace's fault. Well, you're insinuating that Candace is just as at fault as Deborah is. And I feel like Deborah is way more at fault than Candace. Candace ain't having it though. She's saying it's always my fault, and here you are again justifying violence against me. Candace says she thinks Deborah had an agenda and she was going to throw that drink at her whether she was nice to her or not. And that's a good point. I mean, you can't prove that. Ashley says that she didn't think that she would have did that. Again, we don't know. The chain of events happened as they did. Nneka's then asking Candace, so you think your comments didn't escalate the situation? Candace says no, but then Candace says, here we are again, saying that my words trump someone's actions. Andy steps in and says, no one's saying it's justified or trumps anything. They're saying your words can play a part. Again, that is up for debate in the chat. Don't come at me. I'm looking at both sides of the situation. Like, if something makes sense to me, I'm going to say it makes sense. So please, again, you can disagree with me or you can agree with me. Candace thinks that her words did not play a part, that Deborah just wanted to have a problem with her. Andy then gives an analogy saying that you're playing with a loaded gun. And then this is when Candace says, well, I'm a loaded gun too. Now, when she said that, I was like, so you believe in as well, talk shit, get hit. So that's the difference. So I have a friend that actually likes to fight. I don't. So we're going to handle situations differently. If somebody come to his face and be like, oh, I heard you had a problem with me, son. He was like, I fucking do have a problem with you now, bitch. Now what you going to do about it? And he'll be ready to scrap. Me, I would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a problem with you, but if you do, I mean, that's on you, you know? It really depends on how you come to a situation. So when she said that she was a loaded gun, I was just like, oh, I don't know, Candace. I don't know if you can say that too, unless you be prepared to fight as well. And from what we've seen, I don't think Candace is about that life being rah, rah, rah and ready to fight. So then Andy asked Ashley, did she invite Deborah to stir up trouble? Ashley says she didn't. I mean, look, that's also up for debate. She says that Deborah was her good friend, and of course she invited all her friends to support her. Ashley seems like she vouching for Deborah, saying all she wanted to do was clear the air with Candace. I don't know, if she really wanted to do that, she would have did it in a less aggressive manner, and especially not cause a fucking brawl. But she does apologize to Kiana, saying that was never her intention for any fight to happen. After Ashley apologizes to Kiana, Andy asks her, does she accept that apology? Kiana says, to be honest, Ashley is the queen of the aftermath apologies and says, but I appreciate that she's big enough to apologize. Ashley is flabbergasted, and Kiana clarifies and says, I just don't think you're that proactive in general about not causing mess. Get her, Kiana. She was only on that stage for less than half the episode and made a great impact. I mean, bravo, bravo. That is a great note to leave off on. And then she says, I do not think it was your intention. So as she's about to go, Andy just wants to ask her, does she have anything else to say? And she does tell Karen that she wants to thank her a lot just for being there for her, because in that moment, after the fight, she was really scared and Karen really showed up for her. I love this moment. Even Karen was starting to get emotional because I just thought it was real. And Karen, she really won me over when she said, anybody on this couch, I would have done the same thing at the end of the day. It was such a genuine moment. I was just like, aw. I really loved Kiana after this. I definitely think she deserves a spot next season full-time on the cast. She definitely won me over in the short time she was on the show. And she did a better showing than Nneka. And I think production's aware that they made the wrong decision casting Nneka full-time and not Kiana. Lastly, I love that it was just one of the few positive moments from this reunion. So now that Kiana's left the stage, we're winding down now. Andy's voice, it seemed like he's losing it. He acknowledges that. I'm sure it was a long 11, 12-hour day. And he feels like us reviewers reviewing this piece of shit franchise. Andy then asks the ladies, is there anyone that wants to step up, own anything, or apologize? It is crickets. Andy then is left resorting to calling the ladies out. So he asks Candace and Robin, anything? It seems like it's a stalemate there. It's donezo. Candace does tell Robin, well, you said the friendship was over, so really the ball is in your court. Andy then moves on to Nneka and Wendy, and again, it's another stalemate. Wendy keeps talking about this coexist shit. No, we don't want that. We want like people that will actually interact with each other, actually maybe try to be friends, or I don't know. I just don't know what I want. I just know we just need to start from scratch. And I'm glad they're starting to fire chicks because it just can't go on like this. Especially if they want people to tune in. Andy then brings up Candace and Giselle and he says he's not even going to try. He said the both of them need Jesus. Candace says that she came in with the intention today to move forward from the bottom of her coochie. Now, that was a funny remark, but I don't believe that. I think she really hates Giselle. She's gotten to that point of no return with her. So even if she tried to be friends with Giselle, or even both ways, it's just not believable. It's not. Like, it's just not sustainable. Like Andy said with Jersey, it's just not. Yeah, Andy is definitely frustrated. He's just ready for this reunion to fucking end. Like all of us. After that, Giselle says, I can't wait to see the tweets after this. And I think what she meant was she felt like Candace was going to say the tweets, or she was expecting the hate tweets. I don't think she expected anybody to be on her side at this point, especially social media. So Andy's now doing his send-offs, and a special thing they do for the ladies at the end is they take out some thawed pies and start handing them out. I don't know whose idea was it to give black people pumpkin pie instead of sweet potato pie. Someone dropped the ball on that one. But after that, Giselle and Karen together brought Andy a Party City crown and made him the Duke of Potomac. And yeah, that is where the episode ends. Thank God. Thank God. I am done with this show until maybe a year or two. Y'all, this was such a hard show to review. Y'all just don't know the behind the scenes. Like, yeah, everyone has their opinions, but when it turns into like just so serious, people take it so serious that it just doesn't get fun. And I want to return to doing something fun for y'all. You know, I don't want this to feel like work. But anyway, I did like part 3, I think, the most out of all 3 parts. I think as far as the cast coming back, we know Mia and Karen is. I could see Giselle coming back because I don't see them firing Robin and Giselle. I mean, I don't care who comes back at this point. I don't care if the franchise come back. I said that they can just replace this with Married to Medicine DC. Also, we had some breaking news today in the middle of me filming this that Nneka, according to the Jasmine brand, has received her pink slip. So much for giving her another chance. I mean, they were right about Robin. I'm thinking they're going to be right about Nneka. We shall see. Also, y'all, I stopped in the middle of my review to do a special live on all the breaking news that happened earlier today. Like, it all happened in a span of 4 hours. Crazy. But yeah, I'll try to put it up here for y'all, the link so you can watch it. I'm a grandpa low-key when it comes to the technical stuff. But make sure you check that out. And yeah, you let me know what y'all thought of the last part of the reunion. I would give it a letter grade of, I'd give it a C. Because it was still entertaining to me, but it was still, you know, negative, dark, not fun, but it did have some moments. Anywho, y'all, with that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you for the next video, whatever that is, because what else is on Bravo right now? Bye.